and we catch up with our friend Kevin Huet and find out, where were you yesterday, sir? Where were you watching your peers and the game that was happening in front of you?
Hey, good morning, John. Appreciate you having me back on. Loved the segment from Abe. Awesome breakdown of the final and the World Cup altogether and looking ahead. I was right here in my neighborhood watching with a friend. He's a coach at youth levels, things like that. So that gave me a really fun chance to two folks that look at the game with two completely different lenses coming together to enjoy it. So we had actually a lot of really good conversation out of it. So yeah.
Okay, so all right, well then let me peel back the fourth wall on that one. So how much of that conversation can you divulge, or was it just two guys sitting there and saying, well, if I did this or if I did this? How much of a conversation can you tell me about this? Because it is two interesting perspectives staring at the World Championship.
So last time you had me on with the very first question stumped me right out of the gate. You might not remember it. It was misconceptions about referees.
Yeah.
And as a referee, there's decisions I can make like that. I give you an answer. That one, I couldn't come up with it. Yesterday I found it.
Okay.
Talking to him, I found it, and it's an idea of, I think, not understanding what we do outside of the game. Grassroots referees aside, those that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a day across a weekend, they do their games and they go on back to life. But those advancing referees, we eat, sleep, breathe the game just as players do. So I think the misconception that I would like to bring up is we don't just go do a game and then run off, live life again. Once you have video,
Yeah.
we are tracking down the video. A lot of referees are contacting teams saying, "Hey, can I get access to the feed? I want to watch the game back." Of course, we have evaluations, assessments, but I think the idea of understanding that we are invested in this and looking back at things that we can do better, I think is a misconception that I'd definitely like to clear up.
Absolutely. When you get tape, I guess when you're calling teams and you're trying to get tape, are they usually pretty cool about it, or do they sit there and are they kind of like, well, nah, our dog ate our homework and we can't watch? How forthcoming are they when it comes to you asking for tape under the idea of, I want to make myself better? I'm not going to sit here and, dump on it version 2.0. I want to make myself better. How open are they about that kind of stuff?
Yes. So a good question. Across the pathway and progressing, the answer is it depends. From my experience, you have to frame it the right way, and I think you actually have to time it the right way too. Some referees before the game will say, "Hey, I see you have a VO feed. Listen, would there be any way that I could find a way to get access to that so I can watch things back for my own development?" You frame it that way. If you have some big controversy or something in the game, and afterwards you're trying to track down a coach who's not too thrilled with you,
Yeah.
are they really going to help you out? So I think how you frame it, the timing and everything around it too, it always depends on the scenario. Some are more willing than others, but I think there's a large majority out there that get it and appreciate it too.
When you get tape, I know we're all naturally hypercritical amongst ourselves. We sit there, we're our own worst enemies when it comes to self-evaluation. How much do you watch? Do you watch more than you should? Do you get caught up in things? Where do you get too focused on minutia when you first start this process, and then over time do you sit there and kind of put things in context? What's it like looking at yourself on tape? Because I'm sure there are folks, like I said, I've told folks in the past, I hate the sound of my own voice. So if a show is over, and so it's like, I hate the sound of my own voice. I don't watch anything again after it's done. Live, it's happened, it's over, I'm out. I trust others to make the appraisals of what they saw and what they were a part of, and then I trust them and use that as a part of the growth process. When you're watching tape, how far back do you go? How much tape do you have? How much time are you spending on yourself in this process?
What I want to introduce is mentorship.
Yeah.
So once you start getting into, as soon as possible, truthfully, just like players when they have their coaches and everything, again, I want to keep going back to those parallels. We look to have mentors that can help us along with our decisions, with our approach, the professionalism, all of that stuff. So what also happens is we take the video and we have a decision that we're curious about, or a route that we take for positioning. Remember our conversation last night about fighting for our position.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I've also got a cough I'm dealing with.
Hydrate. Go hydrate. Where's your hydration? There you go. Yeah, we believe in hydration.
It's mentorship. So we develop these referee circles. We're social beings, believe it or not, and we clip a decision, send it off to the people in our life, and we say, hey, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not interested in, oh, this player, that player. It's our decision, our development. What could we have done? Because U.S. soccer and their pathways, they're really really big on self reflections, and they're always wanting us to try to understand what is it that we can look back on. It looks different going up the rungs of the ladder, of course, what we're trying to self assess and be aware of. But back to your kind of think original question,
Yeah.
when we are looking at it, it is every little detail of why in the world am I doing that, or oh my gosh, I run like that. And so there is a lot of everything around why in the world did I make that decision, to how do I look. Yes, there's some of that, and also did I get the decision correct.
So when it comes to the rhythm of a match, I know that officials, referees, ARs, what have you, you have your own personality, you have your own style, you have your own way of watching a match in its prism. How difficult is it to be consistent in your thought pattern within the rhythm of a match? Because there are times where you will have officials and it could be leaning in one way when it comes to personality and how they're gauging a match, and then all of a sudden there's this thought of self-correction. It's like, okay, I might have gone too far. You're at the half and you're sitting there and it's like, I might have done a little bit too much this way. And then there's a tendency at times to sit there and overcorrect instead of staying within your own rhythm. How difficult is that within the tenor of a match, especially if the level of importance of a match is, higher than high? How difficult is it to stay consistent within a 90 minutes?
Yeah, John, it's fascinating because there's so many different positions in a game, or I'll say situations in a game where one particular tact is going to work, and then it could be even the same player. 15, 20 minutes later, you try sort of that same tact, and that's gone. That ship has sailed.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to bring up with that, think about the World Cup. Think
Mm-hmm.
about every game you see, MLS, NWSL, going up the pathways. There's different types of referees,
Right.
and I'm just going to throw two particular at you. Think about old school referees would call them, they're the players referee, that they're almost not like a coach necessarily, but they show empathy. They're going to have a good conversation with you. They're very open, no problem with you having a chat. And then you have those that are very kind of strict by the book, if that is the case, and not so much willing to have conversation and having more tactful uh, situations throughout the game where they can have that conversation. And every single type has its own merit, find success their routes. To what you're asking, I remember very distinctly a friend of mine. He was refereeing high school games. This was years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me about, I go through games and I'll try to see if I can find a player to crack a joke with. And so he'll run over, he'll crack a joke. His big thing is humor.
Yeah.
He'll crack a joke with somebody. These are high school kids, and if that guy shuts him off, he's like, okay, that didn't work. And he runs off and he goes and fights somebody else. It might be an injury or after a goal or something. Somebody like shanks a shot. He come over and be like, man, maybe you should use your other foot. Whatever it is. And so he gauges things that way. That was his way to get through it. So, that works until it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And so it is difficult. And I think what we can do is as mentors, as coming up the path, is we want to have tools in our toolbox. We want to stay within ourselves and be who we are. I think that authentic piece really gets you far. And I think that's something that, if I can connect to the World Cup, Ish and his crew, I mean, you look at him, go back to the World Cup 4 years ago, if I may, and what one of those iconic moments was that second yellow card that he gave, red card, for the celebration.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a big, very demonstrous, off you go. It was a lot of compassion and love. And I think everybody appreciated that and loved seeing that from the referee. Same thing can be true at all levels. So being who you are, while it is very, very tough sometimes, that's what these years, that's why this takes so long to really grind through in the pathways of what they are, is being true to yourself, but trying new things as well.
And you mentioned what Ismail Elfath did, and he there's and if you haven't seen the tape, it's kind of cool how he addresses it, because he's standing maybe 2.5 feet from the player, and he looks at him and he's like, I got to do this. It's not just one of those things where roar and raging or anything. It's like he's like, I got to do it, and it's like you're waiting for it. You did it. You did something wrong, and then you go to the man in the middle, and Ismail Elfat's like, yeah, I saw it. We all saw it. I got to do this. Bang, and it's. I thought that was in a high impact situation, to have to pull that trigger but have that little twist attached to it. I thought it was a unique way of looking at it, and I think it reinforces his own personality as to how he calls matches.
Absolutely. It kept the player's dignity, I think, in so many ways. And it's not Ish being part of, or the referee being the situation there. He gives him all the time, all the space. Go ahead, have all this moment. It's a beautiful moment. Have it all. But when you're done with it, we're gonna have to do that thing.
I gotta bring you up here. What's your best Ismail Elfath story about who he is, not just as a ref, but as a human being?
I don't know if I can think of much of one. We've crossed paths. I worked with him, of course, years ago as well. I think where I'm at, I don't think that would be one I can think of off the top of my head. That's really something that's who he is. I think I'd be doing him a disjustice with how much beauty he's got in his game and everything. I'll leave that for somebody else to come on and give you a story for.
Okay, well then when it comes to the grind, let me ask you this, because he has gone from being a player in like USL League 2 in Austin, Texas, and the story goes that his engine ran a little hot as a player, which I find interesting, that as a player his engine ran a little hot, and you see who he is on the field now. It's an interesting dichotomy. But he was so disenchanted, and that's the word I'll use, with the officiating in his leagues locally and in USL League 2. The head of the organization there was like, okay, well, come on in, and he thought about it for a while, and he's like, yeah, okay. And he's gone from there to these heights that he's been accomplishing on the world stage. And I guess this goes back to the whole misconceptions thing. How much work are we talking about that you and everyone there at Pro and everyone that wants to continue to go to higher levels when it comes to their levels of competition that they call? How much work are you guys putting in to stay consistent, to stay up to date with the rules of the game, to make sure that you're as up to date as you can be, that you stay who you are as an official, but still try to make the effort to climb and get to where you want to be as an official, on the elevated stage? How much work are you guys putting in to get to where you want to be?
John, there's each pathway, each progression through the pathway, I guess, has more attached to it in terms of the requirements, right? And I think that probably makes sense when you break it down. Early on, as a grassroots or a referee, the responsibility, you have to recertify every year, and it's an online thing that you have to go through. Not much craziness to it. As you build, you start to have to get assessments, fitness requirements, more sort of rigorous training, and that continues to go up each level.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, the commitment, I think, continues to rise. The expectations are higher. What we're striving for is great. And at every level, though, you have big games. Early on, it could be getting to go to State Cup, referee at State Cup. You aspire to be able to go to regionals, which I don't think regionals is there anymore, unfortunately. Referees are coming back from nationals right now, USYS nationals. So there's always something that we're looking forward to. There's always a big match in front of us that we're hoping for. And every referee is hoping for that big match, of course. But what we're trying to do ultimately every time is do what we can, if at least the ones that are approaching this from this manner as I did, is finding ways. I've always believed in all I can control is me and what I can do to get better. And with assigners, once you get down to that final game, you've got 3, maybe 4 referees that you are able to put on that game, and there could be many more referees that they'd love to put on it. So whatever we can do to situate ourselves to be put on that high profile, that big game, that for us really means a lot for our progression. So there's always a game that we can be looking forward to, but ultimately, because we have no control over what game we get put in, we just want to do the very best we can each game. And so it goes into our preparation. What are we doing to see what the teams are, where the teams are at across how they've been playing, if it's an event, if it's a season, whatever. How well we can prepare for our team, the fitness side of things, the laws of the game, like you mentioned, the trainings. So there's so many aspects to it when we break it down that we can look forward to. But I think at the end of the day, I think we just understand what we can do to get better. And then lastly, the piece that I would add into it is looking around elsewhere, looking up to the players, or excuse me, the referees, maybe watching this World Cup, watching MLS and WSL. You see those and you see what they're doing, and then you find what can I put into my own game. Again, just like players do when they're watching those games. So looking around, what are other referees doing? I think that's always a really helpful thing that we can do to add on into our game and study what we could be doing better.
Our friend Kevin Huet, Senior Lecturer of Exercise Science, hooty hoo to him and all of his folks this morning on a Monday after the World Cup final, breaking things down from the whistles and flags perspective. I do have an exercise science question that I will push to the tail here in a second. When it comes to, I'll say it this way: when it comes to people getting in your grill, when folks want to challenge your call, want to challenge insert whatever, it's like the mouths are running hot, the engines are running hot, and you got folks crowding you, and things are said in the heat of battle. How do you keep from taking it personally and having it affect the calls and the demeanor that you're going to have for the remainder of the match from that moment? How do you tune out noise, I guess, is probably what I'm trying to ask, because in a lot of heavy duty matches, there are going to be moments where folks are going to come up and they're going to look like Dikembe Mutombo and they're going to go like this to you and all this kind of stuff. How do you navigate the noise to make sure that you're still heard and you and your fellow officials are still heard in these situations?
Yeah, what an insightful question too. So my total referee colleagues, the group that I work with, Matthew Conger, heading a lot of that. He's introduced a lot of this stuff to me from the idea of emotional intelligence, and what the basis premises off of that is a really fantastic piece that essentially we understand why a player is reacting that way and what we can do to control ourselves. I know I can testify for my own that when my emotional levels start going up, my decision making and my processes go down. So that reverse effect, I think that's part of what you see players doing. That is, they're trying to get inside there, right, and trying to break down some barriers. And what we can do to kind of eliminate some of that noise is simply maybe even understanding where they're coming from and looking past the actual the emotional piece to it, the loud noise, and understanding that it's coming back to a decision. Maybe it's something that is not even related to that particular decision. So seeing where is it that they're actually coming from here, understanding that this is an emotional game, that we're going to have emotions, going through a lot of practice and again experience, why we have so many games under our belts, so that we can even work on those things of how we do come into that situation. You're not good at it and you don't know how you're going to respond until you actually get there. So it comes with a lot of time and miles in games. So an understanding, I think, that we are emotional beings as well, and doing our own work on the side of being able to regulate that stuff, taking a deep breath, potentially, if we're using radios, maybe we have somebody in our ear that's able to say something, whatever brings us back down. But I think it comes from everywhere of experience, acknowledging that this is an emotional game, and having some practice and knowing how we can also de-escalate players and how they're responding to us.
And at the same time, you've got to add the cultural aspects that are brought to the table, because we're all from different parts of this melting pot, and you have to understand, you mentioned where a player is coming from. You got to make sure that you know the context of where that player's coming from, if he's going to say a certain thing or if he means to say a certain thing. But because obviously words are important in communication, but you've got to know where they're coming from to add to the context of a situation that could be escalating, to keep it from completely and totally have the teapot boiling over. So I mean, that's another aspect to all of this that folks may not necessarily understand, is that you've got to know the cultural aspects of what's going on in a conversation.
John, let me flip that question to you. From looking at the tournament,
mm-hmm.
what did you see from referees in that sort of space when players did get up in their grill?
What I didn't see enough of was this. I didn't see enough of this. I know that the newer laws mean it's like, if you crowd me, then it's only the dude that's got the armband is the only one that's allowed to get in space. Yeah. And it's like, this is the only dude I want to talk to. But you've got like 19 other guys that want to come and do this. I didn't see enough of this. I didn't see enough of, and that might just be personal preference of like, it's cool. I get it. I know everybody's engines are running hot. I can handle it within the personal space idea. And all of this is not going to influence me. It's going to be the conversation that I have with the captain. Y'all can do this all you want. You can call me everything from a child of God to a sewing machine, but I'm focusing right here, and I'm not getting completely and totally, wrapped up in all of the noise. I want to see more. And this might be just adjusting to the laws. It's like, I want to see more cards for crowding. That's the biggest thing that I didn't see. I thought it was handled fairly well across the board. It's just that, one, I didn't see enough cards for crowding, because there were some situations in the 104 matches where I'm like, dude, bang. I was waiting for that. And then the adjustments and the cultural aspects of this, that. And it's like, if you're not supposed to do this, and Miguel Almiron was he was the first one that got dinged for that. So, you have that local aspect that's attached to it with that. This is, and Cucurella almost got into trouble yesterday because he did this, and then Messi points at him, and it's like, and Mark was like, oh, he brings it down. So I think we're still trying to navigate this aspect of it, even though it's a slam dunk at points, and the fact that it was Ivan Barton is another sidebar to the whole thing anyway. But I think we're still trying to navigate this. And I didn't see enough of that. That's just me off the top of my head.
Gotcha. Referees are judged heavily on game management.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't speak to the World Cup, but in progressing levels, we tend to want to take that risk sometimes of showing, hey, I don't need to use a card in this moment. I can manage them, and I'm going to show you how by using my personality. That goes a long way in these progressing levels, pathways of being able to see, hey, I can manage a game, I can control a game without having to throw cards out everywhere, just for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And maybe it's something up there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, and we'll keep an eye on it. All right, so my exercise science question for the senior lecturer part of you. Did you get any future lecture topics from the 104 matches that we've been watching? Did anything sit there and pique your interest and go, ooh, I want to go down that rabbit hole and find out what folks are looking at here?
So I was in a strength and conditioning conference a couple weeks ago, and the World Cup topic came up, and I actually didn't realize it until that conversation that all the physical data is public for players throughout the tournament. Every game you can look at and see distances covered, whole bunch of stuff, heat maps, where the players were. It's fantastic that that's even like public access knowledge. And then I continued, I'm going to go do some looking around, have a look-see, and nothing from the referees. Oh, that's a bummer. And totally fine. I mean, whatever it is. But I thought that would have been really cool, because I'm fascinated by how the game changes, how the demands of the game changes. I keep going back to that a lot, I know. But over 10 years ago, when I sort of did my own research on movement patterns in North American professional leagues, MLS, I was interested in what the game was doing there. But now we're looking over 10 years ago. How has it changed? Have the patterns changed? Have we evolved in certain ways? I know, of course, the law has totally been revamped as it continues to.
Mm-hmm.
How have those demands changed so that we can always make sure that we're staying true to our prescription matching the demands that we're trying to put them out for? And of course, we scale that to every level. We're trying to get you prepared for a tournament event where you're going to have several games, or we're getting you prepared for one game, one match every match week on the weekend. So getting that piece is another realization that I've had over the couple of weeks. And other than that, though, I wouldn't say anything from the referee's perspective in the World Cup. I haven't seen anything I would that hit a light bulb up.
But to your point, taking the empirical evidence, and that's got to be out there somewhere from, someone in Lausanne, Switzerland's got to have the data, or whoever the major domo for referee crews is, and they've got to have that data about all of the yards taken, the miles run, adding the heat aspect to it, indoor versus outdoor, angles, shootouts, all that kind of stuff. That's got to be available in Lausanne somewhere, or someone will have been tracking that information. So I think we got our next treasure hunt. I think we do.
It'd be fun. I can tell you in the next, give it a year and a half, 2 years, I expect a publication will come out talking about World Cup demands, referee patterns, something in that vein. There typically is. So there's somebody that does have it.
Well, and we got to find that somebody, and they got to share that intel. As always, my friend, it's great to be able to break bread and hydrate and let everybody know what's going on from your perspective, whether it's exercise science and referees, or philosophy and all that kind of stuff. It's always great to catch up with you. And will we be seeing you on sidelines anytime soon?
I wish I could say yes. Truth be told, at the end of the month, I'm going down for a knee surgery.
Oh,
so you won't be seeing me in there. You'll just be seeing me in boots looking at camera screens.
VAR
stuff.
And that's another topic for another day. Finding
that
out
would be
how to navigate VAR. That is definitely something that we've got to get into down the line.
Sure.
So if you would please just get through that surgery in one piece. And I know that rehab sucks, and I'm putting it mildly that way. But Kevin, it's always great to see you, my friend. Thanks for the breakdown. And I'm not going to say enjoy surgery. I'll just say enjoy your day and enjoy the hydration now that we're on the flip side of the World Cup, because Women's World Cup's less than a year away.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Listen, it's an honor and a privilege, Sean. I really appreciate you.
All right. Be good, my friend. And there goes Kevin Huet, Senior Lecturer, Exercise Science at Kennesaw State University. And a hooty hoo to all of him and his friends for breaking everything down there.